Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I thought it would be fun to rank all the eyeshadow palettes that I personally tried in 2020. Now these palettes are not all brand new, they didn't all come out in 2020, but some of them I tried for the first time in 2020. So if you're excited to see, I have 13 eyeshadows for you to be ranked. If you're excited to see that, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, as we get started, I did want to say I'm not wearing any of the eyeshadow palettes today. I'm wearing my new Sigma Enchanted palette, but this palette will not be included because it's too new to me. I don't think it's fair to rank something like this since I've only used it just a couple times. So this I don't have enough of an opinion on to include it. So pretty much any of the things that I'm going to show you, the 13 palettes that I have to rank for you today, have all been tried since like January through like November of this year. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with my least favorite of the year. This is the Truly Madly Deeply palette from Colourpop, and this is what the inside of it looks like. I enjoy this palette, and honestly, I feel like I lucked up in all 13 palettes that I've tried this year. I end up liking them all, surprisingly. And I'm actually surprised to see the rankings myself, but it comes down to color story quite often, and then occasionally it will come down to formula. But for the most part, most things in my pile are decent formulas, and if they're not great formulas, I do tend to still love the color story. So this one here has no issue with the quality at all. I really enjoy all the shades in this palette, but the color story doesn't quite inspire me or like grip me with excitement as much as I would hope. This palette I mostly picked up because I was interested in a couple of the singles, and I am glad to have a couple of those singles, but it was more economical at the time to pick up this palette that had a bunch of different singles that I was interested in versus picking them up individually. So this might be one that one day in the future, far in the future, I might depot, and I probably would like it depotted a little bit better, and that way I could kind of create and tailor my own color stories. But as a whole, it doesn't really scream at me like in terms of inspiration. Now I do think I will like this a little bit more in the spring, and that might honestly be some of the problem with this, is that it's just not that inspirational for fall or winter for me, or it's a little bit more winter appropriate, but it didn't really get a lot of use from me in the fall, so I haven't really fallen in love with this yet, although the quality again is really good. And coming in at the number 12 spot, I have my main Squeeze palette from Colourpop. Again, the quality on these Colourpop palettes is really good, but this one is, I love red shadows, but a lot of these shades in this particular palette pull too pink for my liking. I kind of wish they were a little bit more orange in undertone, but I did recently do a look with this palette that I fell in love with like some of these shades in here, but I have to admit, it's like 3 of the shades that I'm in love with versus the other ones just being okay. So this one down here, Baywatch and Red Bottoms, those 2 shades are amazing. Those are probably my 2 favorite shades in the palette, but everything else is just kind of meh in my opinion. So sadly, I was hoping this one might be like an all-time favorite since I do love red shadows so much, but it is just sitting at the number 12 spot so far. And in the number 11 spot, I have my Too Faced Sparkling Pineapple. I always want to call it Sparkling Peach. It's not Sparkling Peach. Sparkling Pineapple palette. And I find this color story to be much more wearable. Obviously, it's super neutral palette with like a pop of green. This like flaky gold shade here is really beautiful. Like I really like that shade. But if I'm honest with myself, I have these shades over and over in different palettes in my collection. Now the quality of these shades are fantastic, but I am actually still excited to have this because I think this will be a travel palette for me. This has like neutral tones. Again, some of these like shades on the end are like super wearable and you can just wear them every day. Or if you wanted to kind of kick it up for like a nighttime look, which I do like to do, this will be a great travel palette one day when the world resumes to normal and we can travel again. This will be probably my go-to travel palette. So I'm not mad at it, and therefore it is number 11. All right, coming in at number 10, I have my Profusion Emeralds palette. Now, this one for me, I love the green, like the green tones that speak to me in here. I enjoy so much. But there's a good bit of the palette that I don't really love. These like bottom 3 here, they're beautiful, but I don't think they look the best on my skin tone, or like I just don't pull off teals that well. It's just a color that I'm slightly uncomfortable with. And then my other major complaint for this palette is that the shimmers are just okay. They're pretty, they're kind of sheer. You can build them up and like dig at them, or you could wear them over glitter glue, but it's just a little bit more work than what I would care to do. Otherwise, the mattes, especially like these olive green tones up here, are gorgeous. I love them. So this is one where the quality isn't as up to snuff as I would like. It's still a really nice palette. It's only $5, and I really do enjoy those. The couple of green tones in here just make this palette for me. So it is coming in at number 10. Okay, for number 9, I went ahead and chose my Night and Day palette from Revolution Pro. This is what the inside of it looks like. It's a Pat McGrath palette dupe, and for like one of the subliminal ones. I love this color scheme so much. The quality is the problem here, and that's why it's falling a little bit lower in this ranking. If this was the Pat McGrath quality, I wouldn't doubt that it would be like number 1 or number 2, because I really love this color story, but it is some work to get these things to show up the way I want them to sometimes. Now, these shades are pretty powdery. I love the 2 like special shades here on the end, but I do have to wear them over glitter glue, or I have to build them up, like lay them down like 2 or 3 times to get them to show up. But when you consider that this palette cost me $10, I believe it retails for $20, but I got it on sale for $10. When I factor that this is $10 and the Pat McGrath palettes are $125, I don't know if I really have too much room to complain, because it is a decently nice palette, especially for $10. And again, so while the quality of this isn't like Pat McGrath quality, the color story itself makes me love it, and it's falling in number 8's position? No, number 9's position. This is my number 8. This is the Baby Got Peach from Colourpop. I really enjoy this palette. I think it's super cute to wear, especially in the spring and summertime. Such a good palette. Such a good palette to pull for like everyday looks, because you can do that monochromatic peach blush, peach on your eyes. It's just beautiful. Not to mention that this shade Hungry Ghost up here. I know not everybody is a fan of pressed glitters, but I really like this glitter formula, and this shade in particular is just absolutely stunning. So I really enjoy this palette, and it's coming in at number 8. All right, and for number 7, I'm kind of surprised this is landing a little bit lower than where I expected it to, especially when I bought it at the beginning of this year. This is the Soft Glam palette from ABH. I love the quality of ABH formulas and their palettes. Honestly, it's probably my favorite eyeshadow formula that I've tried, but this palette, I think I had overhyped it in my head, and I like it. It's a beautiful palette, but again, I have these colors a million times over in my collection, and I didn't need this palette is what it comes down to. I do enjoy reaching for it when I'm doing like a pop of color on my lips, but honestly, it's again just one of those things where I realized you probably didn't need that palette. You enjoy Modern Renaissance. Maybe if I didn't like some of the shades in Modern Renaissance, this one would have been a better alternative, but I love Modern Renaissance, and so I didn't quite need this one. But still, I'm really not mad at myself for picking it up. I'm maybe just more a little bit shocked that it's not higher up on my like love list for the year. And so this one is coming in at number 7 for the year. And for number 6, again, I'm slightly surprised that this one isn't in the top 5, but this is my Natasha Denona Lila palette. It's a beautiful color story, but if I'm being honest, a lot of the metallics in here aren't what I had built up in my head they were gonna be like. Some of them are more satin leaning versus like that really high impact metallic that she has in the gold palette. But still, even though I was a little bit down in terms of intensity of some of the metallics, the mattes are insanely good, and there are still a couple shades in here that I absolutely love. This Cyclone shade, this shade here, this one here called Dragon Bite is a beautiful duochrome. I do like the mauve tones that you can also get from this palette. I find it to be slightly unexpected. But again, the fact that it's just slightly off formula-wise for me drops this down. If the formula of this matched fully the formula in like the gold palette, I think this would be like number 1 possibly, maybe even beat the gold palette, because I do really love the color story. It's just that, again, I wish some of those metallics were a little bit more high impact from this palette. And so this one is number 6. All right, and we are in the top 5. For number 5, I have my Marc Jacobs Electric palette. This was my first time being able to try like a Marc Jacobs eyeshadow palette, and I really like the formula. They are highly pigmented. Sometimes, I think I saw Chic Geek here say that, I think she posted on her Instagram recently a picture of a different Marc Jacobs palette, but she was like, this palette is so good, but it's almost sometimes too pigmented. And I would almost agree with her. Like sometimes if I don't like go in with a light hand, I can overdo it with these shadows because they are so pigmented. But I stinking love this metallic shade so much. These metallic formulas are so high impact. Let me just swatch this little guy here. This is the silver in the thing. Oh my lord. It's just so creamy and beautiful. I cannot wait to wear this on New Year's. I will be wearing this palette on New Year's. I managed to get this on, I think it was like over half off sale here in Sweden. And I believe that they recently put this on sale at Sephora. I don't know if it's still available, but I really enjoy this palette. So coming in at number 5. Okay, and number 4 is one that might surprise you. This one is the Colourpop Honey palette. Now, compared to the Marc Jacobs or even the Too Faced formula, Colourpop's formula, in my opinion, is good. It's probably the best for like the affordable price zone that it's in, but it doesn't compare to like Marc Jacobs. It doesn't compare to ABH. It doesn't compare to Natasha Denona. But I do love, love, love this yellow palette. I love yellows on my eyes. I love to wear yellow. And so this color story ends up bumping this up into my top 5, and I'm shocked to kind of see it up here this high, but this palette I love and adore. So yes, this one is coming in at number 4. All right, and coming in at number 3 is another one that I have just fallen head over heels in love with this year. This is the Nomad by Juvia's Place. This was totally just an impromptu purchase for me. I hadn't thought about it, didn't even know I really wanted it that much, and then all of a sudden picked it up because it was on sale one day. And I adore this palette. I love the tones in here. Everything in this palette is so unique. The like metallic shade here in the middle is one of the most beautiful things. Again, I'll give you a little swatch. It's one of the most beautiful shades I've ever worn, but also the mattes in here just, again, have extremely unique yellow undertones to them. The green, the orange, this like grungy, mustardy kind of green shade, they have these really unique yellow undertones to them, and I just think that they're really stunning. If you are missing some of these unique undertones, then I highly recommend you check this one out. And this one is number 3 for this year. Okay, coming in at number 2, we have my Jacky Aina palette from ABH. Again, I love this formula, and this formula in particular in this palette is probably even the best formula out of all my ABH palettes. And for whatever reason, the mattes in here are just a little bit better even. They're very pigmented, but they blend still really well. And I love this color story so much. I think it's really a unique color story. You get so many warm, beautiful colors. You get some really fun pops of color with this red, those purples, and then like some of the staple neutral shades in here are just so high quality, and I love the shimmers in this palette so much. So there's probably no surprise here. I've talked about this palette quite a bit this year, and this one is coming in at number 2 this year. And that brings us to number 1. You're probably not surprised to see this one here. This is my Natasha Denona gold palette. I love this palette. Now I have to admit that I might be a little bit biased in that this was a gift for my 10-year anniversary this year, and it's just beautiful. I love this palette. I think the mattes in here are fantastic. The shimmers are high impact. They are what I wanted from the Lila palette. No complaints with the shimmer formula. And then also you get a little bit of texture differences. Some of these are a little more glittery and have like sheer base, and I really like that. And I just will use this color story. It's just something that I could literally reach for every day. I could wear this every day of my life and be happy. So while this palette was a little bit more of an investment, it's one that I don't regret because the color story is something that I'm gonna wear and the quality is out of this world. I really enjoy this. And this is coming in my number 1 spot for 2020. Okay, and I believe that's it. I wanna know in the comment section your top 3 palettes that you tried in 2020. Again, they don't have to be new palettes that were released this year. Obviously, some of these have been around for a little while, but I'm just getting around to trying them. So again, let me know what your top 3 palettes are this year. If you've done a video like this, let me know. I will gladly go watch it. And I think that's it. Make sure you say hello, and I will see you in the next one.